Welcome to the What Caregivers Need to Know video show brought to you by eCareDiary.com. I am Lisa Smith, your host for today's show. Today we are going to talk about how music enhances the effectiveness of caretaking. We are very excited to have with us Michelle Muth. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle is a board-certified music therapist and founder of M3 Music. She works with clients as young as 2 until the age of 95 to address a range of developmental, behavioral, intellectual, and age-related issues. You can find more information at www.m3musictherapy.com. What exactly is music therapy?
Well, when I talk about music therapy, I often like to ask people, have you ever heard of it before? Whenever I speak in front of groups of people, and oftentimes the whole room will raise their hand. But then I'll say, do you really feel like you know what it is? And then all these hands go down, and
Right.
like one person. So the great thing is a lot of people have heard of it, but don't exactly know what it is. So think about music. I'll read you the official definition of the American Music Therapy Association,
Okay.
which music therapy is the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program.
Okay.
It's a great definition, but do you feel like you understand what music therapy is?
Not
quite.
really.
So So what I do when I talk about music therapy is I talk about how I use music intentionally with people to say I'm working with a child with autism,
Okay.
and they haven't spoken yet, and they sing their first words.
Okay.
So I'm working towards a non-musical goal.
Okay.
Or I might be working with somebody with Parkinson's and using music to stabilize their gait,
Okay.
because there's a real connection between the brain and rhythm and music that it's really been shown. You can tremendously stabilize the gait with Parkinson's, help with starts and stops.
Okay.
Or I've worked with people with Alzheimer's. And with Alzheimer's, you could look at somebody who looks like they're sound asleep in the chair, totally not aware of anything going on. Or when they talk, they may be using words that are clear, but the combination of the words make no sense whatsoever. So they just really can't be understood. And I'll pull out a song, and often with the older generation now, songs like, Oh Susanna or Daisy or You Are My Sunshine are something very significant to them from their younger years.
Right.
And I'll have that individual sing the entire song. They have been nonverbal or quiet or not said a thing for months, and they will sing the whole song. And then I will grab that moment to try and ask them, well, where were you when you sang that song?
Okay.
So what I'm giving them is a quality of life moment,
Okay.
reaching them where they're at. So think of a trained music therapist using music intentionally towards a client's non-musical goal.
Okay.
That's what
That makes
that's
sense.
the briefest definition of music therapy.
Okay. Okay. I better understand now. Okay. What does a music therapist do? So what do you do?
So what we do is music therapy crosses the lifespan. So you can find us in helping with birth. So
Okay.
from birth to death, there are a lot of music therapists work in hospice care and end of life. So we cross the gamut. Music educators are K through 12, we're birth to death.
Okay.
And some things we might do, like the example I just gave of working with someone with Alzheimer's, is we use music in a variety of ways. So it could be that we're doing active music making, where we might have instruments and we all are making music together. And it could be in that moment I might be working on a range of motion with a client, or gross motor skills, or fine motor skills, or if it's a child with autism or ADHD or other attention issue, getting them to play within a group and be focused for a minute or two on that task. So that could be using instruments, making music together, singing together. There are groups that are Parkinson's choirs that work together, that sing together, and singing is very good for the respiratory system with people with Parkinson's to help strengthen that. Let alone it's the community of singing together. You'll also find that in skilled nursing facilities with music therapists creating it might look like just a group singing, but the music therapist is constantly evaluating what is going on, changing the tempo to slow something down to meet where the group's at. So I've given examples of using instruments, making music, singing together, songwriting, whether it's taking an existing song and putting new words to it or a totally new creation. Receptive listening, basically listening to music. You could learn to use music for relaxation. Also learning to use music, there may be situations I work with, unfortunately, young children who are survivors of sexual abuse. And so we may listen to a song that's a very favorite of theirs and then go through and talk about the lyrics. We may change the lyrics when we write a song, things of that sort. So you're using, we call that lyric analysis, receptive listening, which is simply listening to music, using instruments for making music, all kinds of, any way you can think of music being used is a way a music therapist would use it. And we approach it very differently from an entertainer or a music educator.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about how music therapy differs for a toddler and an aging adult.
So I work quite a bit with young children. I have an early childhood music and movement program for children and their adult caregiver, whether it's a parent or a nanny or an aunt or uncle. And this is both for typically developing children and for those with disabilities. And so what I might be doing in it's called Sprouting Melodies in this class is I'm using music to help with their development. So it's certain stages of development. Say you've got a child between 18 months and 3 years. A baby is starting out with just becoming aware of where they are, 0 to 6 months, just aware of the room and trusting who they're with. Then as you start getting to that next age level, they're still building awareness and trust, but they're also starting a little independence, because you see a lot of kids move away from their parents, but they always know where their parents are to come back to them. So therefore, musically, I might introduce surprises in a different way than I would have done with an infant. An infant, you don't necessarily want a lot of surprises because it's too jarring for them. As they start reaching 18 to 3 months, it's a very prepared surprise, like peekaboo kind of thing. And you can use music with starts and stops. I use sign language in the class for pre-language development for the kids. So that's Sprouting Melodies, but also working with young children with using music therapy. Again, it could be to develop language, as I said, working with a child who hasn't spoken. Using language, again, you can stop a song just at a cadence point, and you know how you'll hear a song and they don't finish it, and all of us are like, you need to finish it. But so you do that with a child, and if they've heard it enough, they will finish it. And that's where that saying the first word or speaking the first word comes from. So then when I'm working with seniors, particularly those with dementia and Alzheimer's, I'm trying to find music that was significant to them for at the point of life where they're stuck in their dementia. Because with dementia, they can be stuck in an emotion, anger, anxiety. They could be happy all the time. Or they could be stuck, they think they're 7 years old. So trying to understand what music might have been used or in their life at that point, then I can try and introduce that. And so what I'm trying to work towards with that person with dementia is calming them, helping them feel that they're not out of sorts with the world. And if they're in a group situation making music, they're getting a sense of community. Because I've had it where somebody will suddenly sing through a whole song, and then you get this whole story of, it was at our high school dance or at our Friday night dance hall that we were doing this stuff. You'll get this whole dialogue. So that's one way of working specifically with dementia, but you've also got I've worked with people with stroke, specific ways you can use music to tap into certain parts of the brain. It's called neurologic music therapy to help bring language back or help with walk and gait and helping people to be able to walk again using music and very specific. It's not just turning on a radio.
Right.
There's a whole specific process of helping, of getting them to that point that you use music.
Right. Okay.
So.
Perfect. Now, how can music help me be a better caregiver and to take better care of myself?
Well, I have a real passion for caregivers because, particularly when we're working with an aging population, I know you've heard this from others on the show and stuff. Really encourage people, caregivers, to take care of themselves.
Right.
But it's easy for us to say, and I know it's
Not
very
so
hard
easy
to
to do.
implement because
Exactly.
you don't want to leave somebody, you don't want to do
Right.
things. So the biggest encouragement I have for people who are caregivers, and one of the easiest ways you can use music, is to think about using music intentionally for yourself. So if you've got a really frustrating point with, say it's your parent, which I think is actually the hardest caregiving to do, because now
Right.
they're their parent and who knows what your relationship has been with them and where you're at and whatever the situation is.
Right.
So there's a lot of complexity that. So if you can find music that can help tap your mood. So think about when you're angry, the kind of music you like to listen to. Find a couple pieces. Think about music when you're happy, what that is. Think about music that has helped to relax you. Think about music you use when you're cleaning or motivates you to do stuff. And create a playlist.
Okay.
Because when you're angry, you don't necessarily want some. When I've been angry and somebody says to me, "Oh, just calm down," it makes me angrier. So
It's the same thing to me.
right. So think of that with music.
gets
If you've got
common.
music, and somebody says, "Here, listen to Enya." I use there are a few Enya songs I
love
use
Enya.
for calming. But if
I
you're
use that for
angry,
relaxing.
yeah, you don't want to listen to Enya when you're angry
No.
because it'll be like oil and
Right.
water. So if you're able to put something together that you can plug
Never thought of
in
it that way.
and even have your earbuds near you. It isn't
Right.
that you're tuning your person you're taking care of out. You can even put just one bud in,
Right.
where maybe they're, maybe they're screaming at you from a chair or they're not wanting to eat. You could put that one bud in
Right.
and try and
Calm
yourself while you're trying to
internally.
work with them. Some of that takes
Right.
practice. So, when you do have those few moments to yourself, put the earbud in and think, okay, this is what I need to do to relax. And for your relaxing music, hear where the beat is and take breath in, deep
Right.
breaths in and breath out to help you relax. But there are ways that you can do that.
I'm such a music. I can relate to all of this. I'm such a music person. I listen to music to relax, and Yanni, and that relaxes me and puts me to sleep. If I don't listen to it, I can't fall asleep.
Yep.
I've
Yep.
gotten to that point.
Yep. So,
this was
keep
very
that list.
informative
Yeah.
for me.
So you're using music with intention
Yes.
already and
Okay,
helping.
I didn't
yeah.
even realize that. See
Yeah.
that? Perfect. Was there anything else you'd like to add, or like our caregivers to know that we didn't ask?
The one thing, I talked about music for you as a caregiver, but you can also do the same for those you're taking care of.
Okay.
So if you think, if you've got, particularly if your parent is suffering from early stages of dementia, is still at home and you're doing a lot of that care, I know oftentimes bath time can be difficult, feeding time, dressing time, things like that. If you can find out, think about what songs or music they did with you when you were a child. It's highly
Okay.
likely that was music from their childhood with
Okay.
significance. Or if they still have some living relatives or friends, find out what music was going on and when it was used and start making that list, because it could be a way of connecting the two of you. If you find out songs from the dance hall
Okay.
that you can just sit and listen to when they may not know your face or your name, but you put that music on and suddenly you
And
may
they
have a
know.
connection.
Okay.
So trying to track that
Okay.
and have that information is very
That's
helpful.
a great suggestion. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you everyone for joining us. To learn more about our future shows, please go to www.eCareDiary.com. Thank you.